the lightning in the heavens to the iridescent images of a city skyline, electricity pervades all facets of our lives. It is indeed a marvel, and a convenience few of whom would do without. Ben Franklin may have brought electricity from the heavens to the earth through kite strings, but it is Thomas Edison who is mostly responsible for harnessing electricity and bringing it into our homes. In fact, Edison is known more for his distribution system than for inventing the light bulb. Joseph Swan of Great Britain actually introduced his carbon filament light bulb an entire year before Edison introduced his. But it was Edison who conceived and implemented a distribution plan with a network of generators, meters, and wires that kept his bulbs burning for long durations of time. And electricity was introduced into the home, bringing about changes undreamt of before 1879. Electricity has turned our personal castles into modern wonders of the 21st century. Never has the homeowner had so many electrical devices to play with. Television, a marvel in the 50s, now seems to be a natural part of our culture. We have a whole generation of young adults who cannot remember growing up without the television set. But for all its magic, it can still remind us very quickly that people are still people and that people make very serious mistakes. What I'm about to show you is tragic and regrettable, but also a vivid image of what this campaign is all about. A television news crew in North Carolina went out to report from the scene of an automobile accident. Their preliminary information stated they would not be covering a tragedy, only property damage and some minor injuries. The accident involved this car, which hit a telephone pole and brought down the power lines. As you can see, the rescue team is treating the driver directly under those lines, which everyone assumed were not energized or live. This will prove to be an unfortunate mistake. As the cameraman turns to film the damage, we hear the shock as a worker stands up into the lines and is hit with 7,200 volts. This worker is fortunate in one respect. He had an entire rescue team right there to react and save his life. But notice the contracted body, the muscles locked in position, the body shaking involuntarily. This is the terrible result of contact with electricity. Those of you who work with and around electricity know the reality of this situation. This is why the company expends great resources to substantiate, institutionalize, and train people in the safe handling of electrical equipment. But for many of us, this is as close as we get to electrical devices, those that populate our kitchens, workshops, and family rooms, and we have plenty of them. Those that assist us and those that entertain us. One of the more enjoyable ones is this, the camcorder. This device can bring the most joyful moments of our lives back to our television screens to be relived and shared again. What was once in the domain of news and documentary producers now is readily available to the consumer. But much like the evening news, this device can also remind us of tragedy in our lives. What if, while we were using our video cameras, we actually filmed some of the careless tragedies acted out every day around our homes? Suppose you were a homeowner having your house painted, and you went out to shoot some videotape of the progress. You walk out further to the front yard to get a better overall look when one of your neighbors speaks to you. You are momentarily distracted as you make conversation and forget to turn off the camcorder. You are unaware of how close the painter is working with his aluminum extension roller to the power lines attached to your house, until it happens. A situation repeated often by homeowners who also install antennas on their roofs. With simple awareness, he could have avoided this tragedy by working with wooden or fiberglass tools, and more importantly, by working carefully near the power lines. Or suppose you're with a relative who is experiencing flooding problems in his basement. The storm is still present outside as he attempts to retrieve some belongings. He's asked you to shoot some video for his insurance purposes. While you assist with the camera, the water continues to rise until it's over his ankles. Unknown to either of you, the water is also making contact with the fan motor on the heater unit. Then it happens. He trips over something hidden in the water. He instinctively reaches out to grab hold of anything. At contact, the fan motor charged the water. As he reached out, he grabbed the water pipe, which is often used as a method of grounding in homes. Making contact, he completed a circuit for the house current through his body to the ground. What was so important that he had to go into the basement with a storm still in the area and the danger of power sources being flooded? Suppose your son attempted a prank, hoping to sneak up on his sister with the video camera while she made up her hair. He achieves his goal as she is startled and drops the hairdryer, but into the sink, half filled with water. The humor only lasts a moment until she absently reaches for the hairdryer. Stunned from the brief electric shock, she falls unconscious. Had her fall not broken the connection, she would have been killed. One has to wonder why an inexpensive GFCI was not installed to prevent this incident from happening, much less the proper teaching of children as to the dangers of electricity and water. Suppose you were shooting some memories of your son before he leaves for college. He happens to be washing his car with the vacuum nearby. He has already washed soap suds to the driveway surface. He is using an extension cord that has been worn open in one place. That little opening, coupled with his bare feet, combine to create a fatal combination. Although the vacuum is a grounded device, the exposed wire touching the water is similar to the basement tragedy. As soon as he touches the vacuum to turn it on, the connection between the wire, the water, his feet, and the grounded vacuum is now complete. This fall breaks the connection, but not before heart fibrillation has begun. Without immediate medical help, he will die in the driveway. Again, water and electricity are involved. However, simply checking a cord for frayed ends, brittleness, or an obvious exposed wire could have prevented this tragedy. Possibly even wearing leather or rubber-soled shoes could have saved him. You could be on vacation returning to your trailer home just after a storm has passed through. While assessing the damage, you take a few pictures for your personal record. Looking at the damage and the branches that have fallen on the trailer, your husband reaches up to drag a branch off the roof. As he does so, he is knocked to the ground by an unseen force. He is dazed, but will live to tell the tale. In his haste, he neglected to see if the branches were in contact with the power lines leading to the trailer. This is a situation much like the painter on the ladder. The limb, like the aluminum pole, creates a circuit to the ground through his body, which can cause similar injuries and/or death. His rushing into the situation only made it worse. And so it goes. Every day, every month, every year. It becomes very clear that we have welcomed electricity into our homes and put it into service for our every need. But it is also obvious that we still do not harness it correctly in all situations. But we can, with knowledge, willingness, and the proper response. For instance, water and electricity are a dangerous mix. If you aren't trained in how to work in a wet area, why experiment? Do you use double insulated or grounded electrical tools? You know what they are? Do you look for the UL label on tools as well as cords before you buy or use them? Do you ever use an adapter to make a 3-wire plug fit into a 2-wire receptacle without using the safety feature? Do you use GFCI receptacles in bathrooms and kitchens? Do you think that making contact with an outlet or circuit will result in a small tingle, nothing worse? Do you really want to find out? Do you know how to verify that the power is off before working on a circuit or changing a switch? Have you taught your children the proper respect for electricity? For instance, we're frightened of lightning and we stay away from it. Now, that's not a bad starting place when it comes to electricity, especially if you have no reason to manipulate or alter.
I was drilling through the wallboard when I evidently struck the 220 line. It coming into the house, when it shocked me.
So I was holding on to this thing. When the antenna hits a power line, blows a hole in his foot the size of a silver dollar.
Oh, listen to me now. It's gotta have been poor grounding or something in the electrical service. Because the outside shell of the trail, the entire outside, was energized. And you couldn't touch it.
We had turned the light switch off while putting in the ceiling fan. But my son walked in and said we needed more light and turned on the switch.
I was wearing a watch during this simple job, and it grounded me out. And the shock was so powerful that, well, that's when I lost my hand.
It was the only outlet without a safety cap. And in the few minutes I left him alone, he found a way to put my car keys in the outlet.
I just simply removed the wrong fuse. When I cut across both wires, it melted the pliers. It scared me bad, too.
And the time it took me to turn off the breaker and walk back to the problem, someone had come along and turned the breaker back on. I could have been killed.
When Edison created his light bulb, he knew he had to create an entire system that would bring electricity to these bulbs wherever they were located. And he knew he had to do it safely. The planning and effort that went into our present system to provide us with the power and conveniences we enjoy involved hundreds of people. But the planning and effort that goes into keeping you safe comes from only one person, you.